failure with that generator. So we reached out to several suppliers to replace that generator, and Nixon Power Services was the low bid on that generator at a cost of $109,535. And that is for the purchase of the generator, and I believe their service agreement for that generator is included in the packet for your review. That is also a budgeted item. So staff's recommendation is purchasing the generator for the north plant from Nixon Power Services for $109,535.
Any questions from council? Anyone opposed to making that consent item number 5?
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance, Ms. Hallman. We're almost there.
Yes,
Budget
we are.
season is going to be over.
Yes, and then we'll be tackling year-end and auditors. So I attached the resolution that we would be asking y'all to approve. Since the last meeting, we worked as a team, worked with the departments, and were able to reduce the expenditures to help with the offset of the millage rate rollback. So just to kind of brief you on those, we removed the vacant public information officer position. We removed the new grounds equipment operator position, and we reduced the North Avenue Chapel reno. It was originally in there for $258,000. We reduced it to $92,000. So we have a balanced budget that I think serves the citizens, also serves the employees, and I think we're ready to go if y'all are for tonight.
Do you know that the amount for redoing that chapel is almost exactly the amount of the rollback?
Very
I was
close.
just thinking, it's kind of ironic. I did have one question, and it is something that got cut. It's just that I didn't understand who it was. It was out of community development, and it was public engagement position. It was going to be a new position, but I didn't see anything, in case it comes back at some point, I didn't see anything that actually described what it was.
Yes. Nina, is she here? Yeah.
I was going to say if it was community development, I think they left.
Hi, good afternoon. Diana DeSanto, Deputy City Manager. Just to speak to that, that was a new position discussed with all of the projects and all of the development going on in the city. There was some talk about how would a position kind of come with development and administration and really engage with the community to explain not only the process of overall building development, but planning, zoning, community development, really kind of walk through those projects and processes, as well as engage in overall development efforts. This wasn't a cut made after the fact. This was one of those wish list items, so pie in the sky if we can have everything, and then kind of pull down from there.
I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to wait for tonight? Because I figure there'll probably be a few comments or something.
Or you can
Anything
put
else
it
on the
consent.
budget? Okay.
I was making eyes with Anna. Or
Jennifer knew what I was thinking. No, I don't really have a comment. I just would like to say one comment, and I'll probably reiterate it tonight. And I promise I will be short. I promise. That I just wanted to say that when we roll back is great. We don't have to pay as much taxes. That's wonderful. But there's still opportunity cost, and there's stuff we're going to miss. And in this case, we're lucky it was the chapel. But just like we're not getting certain positions, it could have been parks not being built. It could have been something like that affects the quality of life in our communities. So while while I have no problem rolling things back, I just wanted to put that out there and say that there are opportunity costs with this, and that we have a whole list of equipment and stuff that departments couldn't get funded that are like she was just saying about the position, is that there are positions that couldn't get filled and equipment that couldn't get paid for because we're rolling back. So just understand that, and I'm just putting it out there and going back to my college economics class, that's all.
So I'm not going to counter that, but just to clarify, there will be times we will need to keep the rate the same, and we may have different opinions as to when that should occur. I have taken a very different position with the unusual inflation that we have experienced in life as citizens nationwide with the cost of things, and that home values and property values are what I would call super inflated. And a lot of people could not sell for what they are assessed at. And I think that's kind of an odd place to be in. And we had raised it during the pandemic, and we ended up actually receiving more money. And I'll just say this too: there will never be enough money for all the things we want, or maybe at times we even feel we need. But it's kind of that way with our families as well, is it not? Our small businesses, they need this new thing, and sometimes we can't get it all. We do what we can. We have to prioritize with our money. The difference is when we're at home doing it with our, say, my small business. I don't have one, but just for sake of explanation, my small business may want or need some additional things, or even another employee, and I may not be able to wing it at that time, but that's my money. On the family, when you're running your family and you're going to the grocery store and you have those years where you're trying to only buy BOGOs and you're buying the cheapest of the meats and you're stretching it with pasta to make your meals go further and everything else, it's your money. In our case, we're spending other people's money. We're spending the citizens' money, and if we live in city limits, it's our money as well. And so we are held to a higher standard even of how we do that. But I will tell you this: when we got the first under the Trump campaign, when we got $250,000, well, it wasn't 250, it was more than that. They covered our first responders with the ARPA money. CARES was the first one. I'm mixing them up. I used to have them memorized. CARES money came under the Trump administration. We were able to cover all our losses in recreation. This was during the middle of COVID. Recreation, Pine Mountain Museum, and actually, in a sense, profited, that may not be the best term, $250,000 above our expenses with the money that came during that administration. Because we had already budgeted to pay our first responders. We're going to pay our police officers one way or another. When the Biden administration came in, that's where we had the $6 million, $3 million one year, $3 million another year. That's $6 million additional dollars that Villa Rica would not have had it not been sent down by the federal government. Even then, there were cuts made in the budget. So what I'm saying is, we will never have all the money for all the things we want, but I think we have to handle it differently during a time of inflation when people's property values are above what we would expect them normally to be, and the fact that we did have good growth. We had a lot of growth, so we brought in a lot of additional taxes for that, along with sales tax. That's all, I promise, till tonight, for me on this subject.
Mayors.
Yes.
If I might.
Yes, go right ahead.
So I was in the hospital when y'all talked about the rollback, and I feel obligated to say this. I respect your decision to roll back the millage rate. I understand that completely. And nobody understands working with top budgets more than I do right now, I can promise you. But I would like to just say, moving forward, because I won't be with you during the budget process next year, when you buy a car, you commit to buy it, and you have to pay the payments on it. There's a tad that you're going to have to pay back that bond. You're going to have to pay that every year. You can't, just like a car, unless you turn the car back in, you can't turn the tad back in. So just understand that in future years, when those tad bond payments come due, that the money you're talking about is not money that you're going to just well, let's not do this in recreation department, let's not do this in the water and sewer department. You're going to have to pay those payments. And when you pay those payments, you're going to reduce the amount of the budget, the general budget, that each department works under. So I'm just telling you that, I respect your decision to roll back the millage rate, but just understand you have a commitment to pay that bond back. So don't forget that you have to do that in addition to providing services to the citizens.
Good point, thank you. Anything else from council? Anything else?
I'm good.
All right, thank you.
Consent number, I'm just kidding.
No, you can't do that.
I was just checking.
All right, H, I had to re-letter my items on my agenda here to make them match up with the updated one. Carol Tomorrow Agreement.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon again. This is to approve payment to Carol Tomorrow. This is year 2 of 5 of a pledge the city has with Carol Tomorrow. So in this current, we're about to end FY 2024 budget. Council approved a $75,000 pledge to support Carol Tomorrow. Carol Tomorrow has asked the city to commit $75,000 per year for 5 years. And again, this payment authorized would represent year 2, and it is already in the budget. And in the proposed FY 2025 budget, there is the 3rd year commitment included in that proposed budget as well. With that being said, any payment of any future year 4 or year 5 cannot be decided by this council. It will be decided by that council, and Carol Tomorrow is aware of that.
In other words, the elected officials now cannot bind future elected officials to the agreement that's made by the current group.
That's correct.
Got it. Go ahead.
Can you just explain real quick for the general public what Carol Tomorrow is and what they do for the city of Villa Rica?
Absolutely. And I will not go near as in depth as Brian Dill or anyone on their staff can, but they are essentially an economic development arm for both Carroll Chamber as well as for the city of Villa Rica. They support us in our industrial and commercial efforts. They've gone so far as to even reach out on the Douglas County side and work with our partners in the chamber over there to assist. They help with site location. They help with kind of creating that inventory and finding that proper mix. They will send us information from different developers that they're working with for an RFI, request for information, if we have a lot that might be a good partnership. We meet frequently. On the Main Street side, we're looking to try and create some monthly meetings to really talk about how we can make improvements and partner on our downtown as well. Thank you.
And I'll just mention also, they are the ones that are also working with us on filling our empty O'Charlie's. We've partnered with them on Gabe's coming back, and even with a warning. I remember being out of town and getting a warning email having to do with something that a developer wanted to do in Villa Rica. So it's nice to even have them to send something down to them and get a second opinion if we're receiving a proposal. So I have found them extremely helpful.
And I'll just like to add to that. Thank you for that, Mayor. And also, I can tell you that since I've been back, so we're working not only with Carroll Tomorrow, but with Douglas County Chamber of Commerce. So we're trying to fill the old Publix building up. And it really is good to have both entities, Carroll County and Douglas County, both working on trying to find a suitor for that. We've actually had 2 people look at that building. And so I can tell you, since I've been back anyway, Brian Dill, who was with Chamber of Commerce, Carroll Tomorrow before, and came back, we've, like Diana said, we have at least weekly meetings with them, and they say, hey, we've got great news, or hey, we've got somebody looking at this building, or we go to them and say, we've got a new building that's open, how many square feet is it? So they keep an inventory of that. So it's been a really good working relationship since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And since you brought up Douglas County Chamber of Commerce, what's the difference in Carroll County Chamber of Commerce versus Carroll Tomorrow?
Carroll Tomorrow, like Dinah said, is an arm of the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce. So it's a little bit different. It's a lot like working straight with the Douglas County Chamber of Commerce. But in Carroll Tomorrow's case, it is, because Brian, in essence, is Carroll Chamber of Commerce now. So.
With someone like Brian the city gets exposure not just to people coming to the city to look, but he's all over the country and in Europe talking to manufacturers and commerce. So they do a great job recruiting potential businesses to any city that they're helping.
But do we pay into Douglas County Chamber of Commerce?
We can, but I don't believe we do.
Outside of any
Yeah.
kind of membership association, that would be the
So I'm just trying to
Understand the
justify
benefit.
why
Yeah.
we are spending 75,000 for Carol tomorrow. I understand the benefit to it. I'm not saying, I'm not arguing that. What I'm asking is, what is it that they do that the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce would not do?
actively market.
So Douglas County Chamber of Commerce does that, but Carroll County Chamber of Commerce does not?
Douglas County Chamber of Commerce does not actively market on our behalf. This is essentially like a full economic development arm, kind of on behalf of, like an extension of Carroll Chamber that, as far as I'm I do not have an understanding of Douglas County having something similar on their side.
So Carol tomorrow is going out and actively marketing to find these businesses to bring into Villa Rica for us.
That is
Yes,
correct.
and it used to be
So
primarily
this-
industrial.
So this is, or even industrial, I mean, any kind of business, they're actively marketing to bring into Villa Rica, whereas the chamber, Douglas or Carroll, does not actively do that.
That is correct.
So that's the benefit to spending that $75,000 with Carroll tomorrow.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
And I would say on the Douglas County side, as best I know, they do have an economic development department. We do not. We don't have anybody on staff
Also
to do that. Yes.
So if you aren't going to promote an economic development, what does the Chamber of Commerce do exactly?
You're talking about in terms of
In terms of if your sole purpose or mission is not to go out into your county, your city, or whatever it is and do economic development, then what is the purpose? Because I've always assumed, and that's probably my fault for assuming, but I've always assumed that was one of the purposes of a Chamber of Commerce.
there's an overall retention element to it, right? So there's networking opportunities. There are different overall aspects. So if I'm a local business in the city of Villa Rica, whether I'm in Douglas County or Carroll County, I'm going to want to have a membership in that so I can network and be involved and meet local leaders and know what's going on in my community and get my business out there. From a city perspective, this is more of the economic development wing of it. So our partnership involvement with the chambers is more to facilitate that dialogue and conversations with the businesses. Our benefit in this is the economic development side of it, which, from what I understand, is offered through Carroll tomorrow.
And this is only my opinion, but this is only my opinion. I think this is the second or third time this has come up for approval. And I know that Carol tomorrow's leadership has changed I think it's changed every year that I've been on council. So at least every 2 years, 1 to 2 years, it's changing. But and they have new leadership. I can't speak for that. But up until this point, we haven't really seen anything they have done in Villa Rica. And I know when the mayor was on council, that was one of her complaints about them when this would come up. And I don't necessarily disagree with that complaint.
You want to address it
I
or
can
you
go
want
or-
me? Because I'll.
So
I
wait,
have no
one
problem
second.
addressing
So we're
that,
going
but
to pay
unless you'd like to.
$75,000 to these people who haven't done anything in the last 3 years I've been here, on the hopes that these people that are in now are going to pay off. That's what my brain's hearing.
And I appreciate those comments, and I'll say this, and I know the mayor was going to say this too. When I was the mayor, I lobbied hard for the council not to pay into Carroll tomorrow. And Councilman McPherson and some of the others agreed with that, because I didn't see anything really coming from that, and it was more than $75,000 at the time. The only thing we got in return for the money is, so far as I'm concerned, as your former mayor, is we got a really nice, colorful brochure, and when we got it, there was one photo in there of Villa Rica in the entire book. So I really had a problem with that. I think, and I can't speak for Brian, I'll let him speak to this, but I think when Brian came back, he realized that I was back in this position now, so he has really done a fantastic job of keeping me updated and talking to Diana and talking to the mayor and working with our Villa Rica Development Authority. He's really engaged since I've been back here. Moving forward, you should expect no less than that for the amount of money that you're paying, in my opinion.
What kind of projects should we expect to see happen with this money?
Boy, we have a lot. I can't tell you a lot of them right now, but I can tell you that the things that are about to happen, and the mayor's kind of alluded to this in a post on Facebook, but we have some really exciting things about to happen in Villa Rica, and a lot of that is a result of direct engagement from Carol Tomorrow. A lot of it's because, you know, these companies that come here don't come here because they really like us necessarily. They come here because they realize that there are folks that live here and they're going to make money. So they see that. They look at demographics. They see what's happening in the city. Some of them even read Facebook posts. But when they come here to make money, obviously. So if they've got someone in place like a Brian Deal or Carol Tomorrow that can say, let me guide you through the process. These are the people that you need to talk to at Villa Rica. If you're looking for a 5,000 square foot building, hey, I've got one for you in downtown Villa Rica that you need to go look at. And they will actually bring them up here and meet them and meet with that property owner or meet with staff. So I can tell you again, I've been very critical in the past, and that's public record. But I can tell you just since I've been back that Brian has totally engaged with us, with the staff. And you're going to be seeing the benefits come up. Some of them, even the Gabe's thing that just happened, they had involvement with that. Not complete involvement, but they did have involvement with that. They have worked actively to try to get a tenant in the old Publix building. And we get updates on that every week. And so...
The old Publix building, that's in Douglas County, so
Yeah, that's what I was
they
gonna
work
ask.
in the Douglas County portion too.
Well, that's kind of the unique thing that's going on right now. So we have two different groups working for the same building. That's never, since I've been here, 22 years, I've never seen Douglas County and Carroll County chambers or or Carroll Tomorrow work together on one specific project. So that's a pretty.
So
neat
you're
thing.
saying Carroll Tomorrow works on the Douglas County portion of our city?
They're working
They're
with
willing
them to try
to.
to find us a tenant. They have so the way they market, the way the marketing arm of either a Chamber of Commerce or a Carroll Tomorrow works is they have feelers out there. If you're a company and you're looking for a 20,000 square foot building, like a Publix building, which is bigger than that, but they typically will call a Chamber of Commerce, or in this case, if they call Carroll County Chamber of Commerce, then they get Brian Deal with Carroll Tomorrow, and they say, yeah, we've got a great building for you. Now it's in Douglas County, but it's right off I-20, so it's close to, next door to Carroll County. So then they would turn that over to Douglas County, and Douglas County would work that project out. But Brian still engages with him, and he's still responsible to the mayor and council here. So again, that should have always been the case because we share two counties, but that's been more the case this recently than I've ever seen it.
And even if we didn't share two counties, even when I went through the economic development training, the idea that we benefit out in this area of West Georgia really helps all of us. So it's not that we necessarily see ourselves as competitive with Coweta County or this. We want to bring all of us up and attract them to this general area. Think of people that live here that might drive to Paulding County to work. I mean, what's that, a few minutes in some cases? Or, even if you're in Carroll County and you're going down to Coweta, some people are right on the line there. So economic development in this area is good for all of us wherever it occurs out here. I'll say this in defense of Carroll Tomorrow, not as an excuse, because it's the same time that I was not forgiving them the money back then, is that they were doing primarily industrial, and the fact is we had almost nothing left in our industrial park. So we were paying to have that service when we had very little property or anything to do anything with. Well, I believe with not just with you, also our own development authority, Mr. Rogers, David Rogers on there, we started telling them, we want help with other things because we only have so much area available, especially with the needs for water and sewer for industrial. And they've come right on board. I'm telling you, from the time I got in office in January, he and I were communicating on things. And that's probably when I got that first warning email that I sent out to the council that had to do with the aluminum company. So not just helping us, but being another set of eyes of expertise that we don't have that expertise, and being able to draw on them and get a professional opinion. So, yeah, they're working real well with this. I've been really pleased. Yes, ma'am.
But
Go
for
ahead.
$75,000, couldn't we hire an economic development person?
No. No, we really couldn't. By the time we pay and the fee, and the other thing is this, to have the expertise that they have, it's not just Brian. They have a small staff, and they're connected to the chamber. So they have connections. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. It's like, and I'm going to recognize this man, it's like having a Dale Schwarzkopf, in additional to a few others. The people they know and the contacts they have in the state, and in Brian's case, across the country and outside the country, we could not duplicate that on staff. Because not only could we not duplicate the one person, we can't duplicate the staff that they have and the resources they have. They have a team. It's just he's the head of the team.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my best sales pitch. I'm not saying you have to buy it.
I know, that's exactly what it sounds like to me, as a sales pitch.
It
And
is. I mean,
and
when I
we
believe it-
rolled back
Yeah.
the millage rate and stuff, this is, I'm
When I
sorry, it's my
believe-
accountant brain coming in. It's my accountant brain. I know that, and this is probably what I should have talked about with opportunity costs. We probably do have an opportunity to make more money, but there is no guarantee. It's just an opportunity. And and this is what, my third year. Jeff said when he was mayor, I have heard you on council, and I sat on the other side, say that they haven't given us anything. And I know we got Gabe's back, but we've also lost like I know the brewery closed. I don't know when. I would like some kind of guarantee. That's my point.
It sounds to me like this would be the perfect opportunity for them to prove themselves.
Okay.
And I only say that because you have new leadership. We had, Villarica, we're in the perfect opportunity for new businesses to come on in. So if this is their time to prove themselves,
Okay.
and, you know, we can evaluate it next year, and decide if we want to continue or if we wanted to.
Are they going to be here
Higher.
tonight?
That I did not request that they were here tonight. We have meetings with them tomorrow and then again next Monday. I can try to reach out and see if somebody can be present this evening. But with all this being said, this is the 24 budget. We still have time in the 25 proposed budget going forward if we want to make an adjustment. But I am delayed. This actually came up in, I believe, January of this year. It just hadn't been presented before the council yet.
And he did come do a presentation at our work day.
Yeah. He did, where he wanted to put a Longhorns right next to Brothers.
Okay, as I understand, you're saying that this 75,000 approval on this particular request is for this year?
Correct.
Not for next year?
Correct. Yes, sir.
He's the one that wanted to.
That's who talked about
Yeah, the
that.
bills come due.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone opposed to making this consent item number 6? Okay, so we'll move it to tonight? All right. All right, so on the agenda, consent item number 1 is ratification of the WIC building. Consent item number 2 is Fullerville lighting installation. Number 3, I don't have the item, but it's Public Works.
It's the emergency storm repair,
Okay,
stormwater repair.
stormwater repair.
Little trace.
Number 4, the Club Bay pump replacement. Number 5 is the North wastewater plant generator replacement, and that's it. Anyone have anything else? Okay, so we have 5 items going to the consent agenda for tonight. Okay, we're going to move into public comment. We have a sign-up sheet. Thank you. I'll call on the individuals first that are on the sign-in sheet. Anyone additional that wants to speak after that will have the opportunity. As you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Each individual will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those addressing the mayor and council may feel free to speak openly on the matter with which you wish to bring to our attention, but we do ask that you do so in a respectful manner, refraining from any uncivil discourse. As an elected body, we do not typically engage in debate or question and answer during that time. However, if your questions or concerns necessitate a response from the staff level, I'll be sure or happy to have the city manager or a staff member contact you in a reasonable time frame. As your elected officials, we do value the opportunity to hear from citizens and those who have a vested interest in the city. Jackie Childress.
Jackie Childress, 1050 West Highway 78, Villa Rica. Just two quick things that I'd like to bring out. A week ago yesterday, I was coming out from Publix on the proposed parkway there. And as I was coming around a curve, I was doing about 25. A lady on the go-kart in the middle of the road, I almost hit her. So it seems to me that we might have some issues there that we need to take care at the forefront rather than after this parkway is completed. I'm still opposed to the parkway. I don't think that if you asked 1,000 citizens about it, that most of them don't even know what it is still today. They've heard that we're trying to take people's homes away from them and things like that, but they really have no knowledge of what this parkway really is. I just feel at this time we really don't need it. I think we're good with what we've got, and if it's going to become a go-kart speedway, not go-kart, but golf cart speedway, then we certainly don't need it because someone's going to get killed over there. And then it'll be on each of our heads because we didn't do anything about it. The second thing that I'd like to bring up is with regards to the area where they can't seem to come up with how many homes they want, what they want, and all that. During the zoning meeting last month, several of us spoke up and tried to address that. And afterwards, the gentleman who's supposedly the one that's the main thrust behind all that told us that they had no intentions that day or ever doing anything but putting a data center there. He explained to us that they would provide their own water by moving the water tower. We don't have water for subdivisions and senior citizens. We don't have room for a data center. I have a real problem that now they want to bring a whole different proposed thing to the table, as they've done, 3-4 times already. I do think that in the best interest of everyone, they should be asked to submit a complete new proposal of what they're going to do, and I think they should be given a timeline for when that should at least show some type of progress, and if not, the whole thing just needs to be thrown out the window, which is what I'd first like to see happen, but we don't always get what we want, so I just ask that you really consider this tonight with some real sincerity of, if we can't provide the homes that we already have and that we've committed to with water and sewer, electricity, we're having more and more outages. We don't need any more of that type of building at this time.
Pamela White.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Pamela White. Today, I would like to make a recommendation that instead of creating 8 pickleball courts, that all the precious children with disabilities here and throughout the neighboring counties, that they be taken into considerations and that all parks be made inclusive with the amenities that they are able to enjoy with their family and friends. Their families shouldn't have to take them to other parts, other cities, other counties, when it should be afforded to them here in the city of Villa Rica. I truly believe that it's not true that the city does not have the money to make these type of accommodations. I think that if some of the outside entities would be put on hold from receiving money that you really can't give an account to, that some things can be afforded to the citizens that are taxpayers here in the city. Appreciate you, Stephanie and Anna, for being attentive and asking questions, because it really gives a lot of clarity to some things that are sometimes just thrown over our heads. So we want to say we appreciate you for being attentive. But y'all take care of our children in the city so that it don't make the burden bigger on their families to have to try to find accommodations for them elsewhere. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Amy McCoy.
Good afternoon, Amy McCoy. I'm in Douglas County, 9938 Ashton Old. So the city of Villa Rica is committed to promoting fair housing, supposedly as stated online, and maintaining ethical standards, all aspects of government and public service. It is essential that the city's policies reflect transparency, fairness, and accountability in the distribution of public funds and procurement of goods and services. However, recent concerns have arisen regarding potential ethic violations and handling of public resources, particularly with respect to payments to organizations such as Carol Tomorrow. Carol Tomorrow is not even registered with the state of Georgia, but however has received substantial payments over and over. These payments have been funneled for the years, raised serious questions about transparency, especially since the mayor of Villa Rica serves on the board as well, and may stand to gain financially due to her proximity to the tax allocation districts she helped establish. The city's allocation of funds and resources, especially in the historically black neighborhoods like the Cleghorn-Anderson community, also raised significant concerns. This community has been subject to unequal taxation, and the Cleghorn Street Park, which was long lacked adequate city funding, was transferred to a developer back in January of 2022 without public input. While other parks in Villa Rica have been prioritized and provided with substantial funding for amenities such as tennis courts, pavilions, conference facilities, the Cleghorn-Anderson community has been neglected. This disparity contradicts the city's own procurement and ethical guidelines, which emphasizes fairness and public benefit over all transactions. Now, according to the city of Villa Rica's policies, and procurement of goods and services must prioritize the city's best interests, uphold competitive and transparent bidding processes, and maintain highest ethical standards. All city departments, authorities, commissions, and committees are expected to comply with these policies to ensure fair competition, transparency in expenditures, and ethical standards. Meaning, you should be abstaining from using confidential information for personal gain. In light of these standards, the recent allocation of $1 million for a lift station project in August, just last month, the last meeting, without a request for proposal, raises significant questions about the city's adherence to its own guidelines. The project was labeled an emergency after similar designations the previous year, yet there is no evidence of open bidding process or public notice. Additionally, the absence of current bids or RFPs on the city's website further undermines public trust. We call on the city of Villa Rica to provide transparency regarding its procurement processes, particularly in relation to the funds allocated to Carol Tomorrow, and the emergency designations that bypass competitive bidding. It is critical that the city upholds its commitments to fair housing, ethical conduct, and full compliance with the Georgia state statutes. Any conflict of interest, particularly those involving public officials, must be addressed immediately and preserve the integrity of the city's governance and ensure that all communities, including the Cleghorn-Anderson community, is treated equitably. The residents of the Villa Rica deserve a fair and transparent government that operates in public interest, free from undue influence and personal gain. We ask that the city provide clarity on these issues and take immediate action to restore trust in its processes.
Thank you, ma'am. Alita Farmer.
Hi, I'm Alita Farmer, 216 Anderson Road, Villa Rica, Georgia. I just wanted to bring something to your attention. After reviewing your charter that was established in 2018, which was revised, it states under conflict of interest, no elected official, appointed officer, or employee of the city or any agency or political entity which this code of ethics applies shall knowingly engage in any business or transactions or have a financial or personal interest, direct or indirect, which is incompatible with the proper discharge of his or her official duties, which would tend to impair his or her independence of judgment or action in the performance of his or her office and duties. I read that today because as we were talking about Carol tomorrow, I just wanted you to be aware, Leslie happens to be, which is our mayor, part of their board of directors or on their board. And so today, it sounds like you were definitely trying your best to sell Carol tomorrow. Now, I don't know if you understand what it means for conflict of interest, but today, you went to me a little bit overboard with your explanation and trying to appeal to the people. $75,000 is not the only amount of money that they have been putting into Carol tomorrow. I want to say that I've seen $175,000. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere, that when they first initially started, because they've been around for quite some time. And thanks again to Carol tomorrow, our neighborhood has been subjected to a lot of hardship. Carol tomorrow was part of the people to initiate all of these vendors or contractors to come into our neighborhood and cause this just heartbreak. That's all I can say. They even wrote a letter of support. So thank you. On August the 5th, 2022, as they talked about a neighborhood that probably none of them have been in. And again, we're paying them $75,000. We have a community development director. Now, I don't know what his duties are, but maybe you need to pay him some more money so he can market for you. But this right here, this is unacceptable. And Leslie, again, put on notice.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment?
I didn't sign up because I had no intentions of speaking, but then a couple of things got on my radar screen. Greg Roberts, 2142 Burkdale, Villa Rica, Georgia. On that Punkintown Road item, the map that you guys showed that only showed the one roundabout, the very next slide shows both roundabouts. So is that second slide irrelevant, or is that the way it would look?
We don't engage
Well,
at
I
this
know-
time, but hang around.
Okay, so, but it was
Hang on.
on there, and I kept
Yeah.
waiting for somebody to go, well, it's the very next slide, but I don't know why it would have been on there if it wasn't relevant. The other thing is, and I saw the Goldworth Road item was on there, but somebody correct me, and I know you won't because you don't engage, but this was just on last month's item. And it doesn't feel like we've gained anything, because I remember some folks being here from that area speaking, so I suppose they'll be here tonight. I will admit, and I do not mean for it to come across any other way, it's not intended to be an attack to the mayor and council across the board or staff, but it felt like there were more questions than answers, and it felt like there were at least 3 or 4 or 5 people in the room that had pieces of information. That's very confusing to a citizen. I'm totally unaffected by that project. I don't live over there. I go to Carrollton a good bit, so I pass by there. But it just felt like there's more confusion with that project. But then to Council Member Munthahan's point, sort of tossing it out and starting over may not be the best thing. I believe he's got a valid point there. But I'm not comfortable as a citizen, and I'm sure they'll be here tonight, but it feels like it kind of happens in reverse order. So the people that need to be here speaking on these items for this 1:30 every month, those people are never here. Almost never are they here. But they'll be here tonight, and then they may or may not have any more information to clarify it. But that item feels like it's just shot, and nobody knows what's happening. That was my opinion just sitting over there. Then the other thing is, I have known one of the first things that got on my radar screen 2 or 3 or 4 years ago was the water sewer issues in Villa Rica. And every time it's mentioned in these council meetings, it sort of makes me nervous because I know it's going to ultimately cost the citizens and property owners and businesses in the city of Villa Rica. And so the development's coming with you or without you. You're exactly 40 minutes to the state capitol downtown from right here. That changes at different times of the day. But there's a lot to be talked about here, and it feels like we spend a lot of time on a project like the Goldworth Road that nobody really knows what's going to happen there. That took about 40 minutes, that conversation. That was a long conversation for me to be able to walk away and go, I don't even know what they talked about. Anyway, it's not criticism. I know it is, but that's not the intent. I know you guys do a great job, and public service is hard. It's really hard. It's almost like working in a church. Nobody's ever happy. They want another song other than what you sung. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak during perfect timing, during public comment?
Joshua Evans, 640 Cleaver Street, Villa Rica, Georgia. I ain't gonna hit y'all too hard today. Sound like y'all had a tough one. So that Goldworth, I understand where everybody's coming from on it, but let me tell you, if they can make something work in that kudzu patch, let them. Because I've been looking at that eyesore for 45 years. It ain't nothing but kudzu, all you ever see out there. Old abandoned house sitting up across from the trailer park. It's been that way for years. If they have an opportunity to make something work, let them make it work. We let everybody else make things work. We let these apartment complexes come in and we made them work. I heard you guys come in and say, well, if you turn this away, it'll work this way, or we can get more this way, or you can get less this way. So if there's a way to accommodate that with what they're wanting, I'd suggest it. I agree with Matt. What happens if they come back with a blank slate and then they come back with a rezoning and, we've turned down an aluminum plant, we might be having to turn down another one because they may just go for that. They could. Mr. Reese, I agree with him and Matt both sitting there, the attorney, I agree. They could ask for that, for rezoning, and then what we do? We're in a pickle again. So, y'all faced with a hard decision on that one. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. I wouldn't want to be in y'all's shoes, that's for sure. But if they, just my personal opinion, as a resident that's born and raised here, if they can make something work in that field of kudzu, if they can kill that kudzu off and they never come back and take over them houses, then hey, so be it. You build a data center over there, it's probably going to be covered up with kudzu in 5 years and you won't even be able to see it. So I'm just telling you, that stuff grows, that stuff's crazy over there. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes on it. That's for sure. Y'all seem like y'all got a lot to think about on it. The Carroll Tomorrow deal, economic development, while I don't know why y'all don't have an economic development person here hired on staff that works for the city. If it's, a retired person 3 days a week, whatever. And I don't know why y'all don't have that. That just seems like to me that would benefit more than Carol Tomorrow. Myself, I'd rather see that happen and pay somebody who may need to work to do it. That's just my personal opinion. Take it for what it's worth. We got a lot to think about in this city before we start asking people to come move on back in here. We got a lot to think about.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak during public comment?
Can I do a follow-up question, if you don't mind?
Well, we don't do questions, but you can.
Thank you. I noticed that the county also pays for our Economic Development Authority. So has the city of Villa Rica not looked to partner with them? Because I see it also on their budget. It's also on your budget. So there is someone for economic development for Carroll County. We do have it for Douglas County. The city of Douglasville has their own economic development authority. Douglas County has their own economic development authority, and there's an Elevate Douglas who does help regionally and is funded through businesses. So I'm just saying it just seems a little unclear as to what y'all are doing. But as the fact of the matter is, Carroll Tomorrow is not even as a registered company or charity or anything with the state of Georgia, however, still gets funding. So I just want to make sure that that is documented on the record, since we have a part in the policy and procedures over gratuities. So that sounds like gratuities if they're not operating with a real estate license.
Is there anyone else who has not spoken who would like to speak during public comment? All right, then we're going to go ahead and we will close the work session